Again, the rich tradition that you all in this room have helped to build. Tonight we're here to recognize those who are choosing to retire to go on to the next chapter of life. Just like the seniors have gone on to the next chapter of life, we've got a new bunch of seniors going on to the next chapter of their lives. But to help me out this evening, I'm going to have the principals come up and say a little bit about each of the retirees. Our first group of retirees is led by Jack T. Farah and Missy.
Hello. We have 4 people retiring. 4 people. Amazing. And they're 4 amazing teachers. And you think of all the wisdom that we're going to lose at 4 days. It's really scary. Our first one is Michelle Cantrell. Miss Cantrell. I brought my note card so I can remember how many years they taught, where they taught. But Michelle started in Rutherford County, in Bedford County, in Franklin County before she was nabbed to Tullahoma. And then we got her, and she's been with us 18 years, is that right? And she worked part-time at Bel Air and Jack T. Farah for many of those years. And then this year, just this year, we were able to nab her back. And when Michelle was making her decision about going to staying at Bel Air, staying at Farah, of course, you know, either one would love to have her. She said, well, Dee, I don't think you're going to want me. I just want to be there a year. I'm just going to be another year. And I said, I want you for as long as I can get you. So we were able to hang on to her. She's fabulous. I asked her favorite memories. I said, tell me some of your favorite memories to share. And she said, well, probably her road trips with her colleagues, the duck stamp recognition ceremonies when those kids are getting recognized, because you saw some of the amazing work that was up here for students, and that really has put us on the map as far as the art programs across the state. It's not unusual at all for her to hear comments such as, there's no way elementary students did those ducks. And she's like, oh yes they did, oh yes they did. So she art teacher. So they've done a wonderful job. So Michelle, you're going to be missed. Oh my gosh, you're going to be missed. And then I have Miss Renee Farah. What's Renee? There she is. Come on up, Renee. The frogs forever. Yeah, Renee. I was asking them how long she had taught, and you know where she taught. She's like, it's a name thing. I've been at Farah my whole career. Isn't that amazing? Yes. That's amazing. So the kids all think like that school's hers. She owns the school. But Renee's taught for 29 years, and she really had planned on giving it another year. And one day she said, "Can I tell your story, your retirement story?" Yes, you can. She said that she went to church. She hadn't been to this particular church service in a long time. I believe it's Monday, Thursday service. And said she went, and she said it was just amazing. It was just a beautiful service. And she said she just prayed, God, what are you trying to tell me here? Just give me a sign. And she said she got home and her house had been broken into. And she said, that's my sign. There it is. It's God. Tell me it's time. So
she went to the TV, so that was good.
So she's moving to Portland to live with her mother, which is going to be wonderful because she travels to see her about every weekend. But she's taught 29 years, all at Farah, and she's taught Title I, first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. So everything at kindergarten to fifth, and that's amazing to me.
And I did my student teaching at Farah, so I've been
And another thing, the thing about Renee that I'll always remember, when I first became the principal at Farah, which was 4 years ago, Renee was going through some really tough health situation. I never saw this lady lose hope. I never saw her down in the dump. And I remember one time I said, you never cry, because I cry about everything. And she was like, no, I don't. This is just life. And I was like, you're amazing. You're going to be missed. You're going to be missed. It is going to be tough to see this lady leave, I'm just telling you. Kathy and I go way back, way back. I actually worked for Tommy back there, her husband. One summer when I've been a teacher for maybe 10 years and was going through that, is this what I want to do the rest of my life? Do I have any other skills? And Tommy put me to work, and the thing I remember about Tommy, oh gosh, and I said, I think I'll go back now. But I remember Tommy loving his family. That's how I met sweet Kathy. Little did I know that God had his plans for Kathy to end up coming to East Middle School later as I was the principal over there, and I got to work with her She actually worked as the PE teacher at Robert E. Lee in East Lincoln for a couple of years, and then she took some time off to raise 4 beautiful girls. Anybody from Tullahoma knows she's got 4 amazing daughters. Well, I guess Tommy gets some credit too, but I'm going to give most of it to Kathy. They're amazing. And then she returned to East Middle School, which is where I had the opportunity to work with Kathy, and she was an EA. It wasn't long before she said, okay, I'm going to teach PE. So then she taught PE, and then it was like, we needed sped. Okay, I'll get certified in sped. So then she did special ed for a while. And then she made the decision to move over to Jack T. Farrah as an educational assistant. So she's done this, you know, and so then she moved to Jack T. Farrah as an assistant. Then I was fortunate enough to get to join her over there. I said, God put you in place because he knew I was going to be back with you. And then this year, we needed a new special ed teacher and couldn't find one to fill a spot. So she's like, I'll do it for you, Dee. So she went right back in this week. Kathy, I love you. I love you. This lady, I've always said about Kathy, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, when I look at Kathy, yes, but I see Jesus. That's what I see when I look at Kathy. Her heart is as beautiful as that smile. We love you, and we're going to miss you and miss you. I don't know how in the world we're ever going to know what's going to happen with the weather. Randy is our resident weatherman. Randy has taught 22 years at Jack T. Farrah, all at Jack T. Farrah. He was in 10 years in kindergarten, and then he was 1 year in 3rd grade, and he did 4th and 5th for a while, and then this year he returned to kindergarten. He just said to me, he said, man, I should go back to kindergarten about 3 or 4 years ago. He has loved this last year with those little babies, and they're so funny. They hang on him. Like, I don't know how they just love it. It's just the most amazing thing. Randy is instrumental in a lot of things that go into school. He takes care of everything from when we have emergency situations. He helps with safety protocols. He's our resident weatherman. I think it was a couple of weeks ago when folks were down. A lot of people were down because of a tornado, concerned of a tornado. And Ashley called in and she said, Dee, she said, you think we should go down? And I said, no, Randy says everything's fine. And so we called Randy back up there, and Randy's like, guys, the storm is not even over us. And she said, yeah, but I think the kids at such and such school are down. And I said, if Randy says we don't need to get down, we don't need to get down. He knows his stuff. So he is our weatherman. I don't know what we're going to do, Randy. Still calling. Another thing that he's been instrumental with, which is a really cool thing that's taking place tomorrow morning at 8:30, is a balloon launch at Jack T. Farrah. The students build balloons out of tissue paper, and then they launch those into space. It's just so cool for them to get to see the fire and push those helium balloons up and see how far they go. And he's been instrumental in that, so I'm sure we're going to have him every year for that as well. So, Randy, we are going to miss you. Holy smokes, we're going to miss you. Thank you so much for your support.
Mr. Harvey.
Which role?
East Lincoln.
You want to do East Lincoln or Bell Lincoln?
Do East Lincoln.
Okay, you sit down there. Kathy Abbott was my PE teacher in the 6th grade.
Hey, Scott. Whoa, 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 whoa. Why do you look older than her then?
Claudia Van Cleve cannot be here tonight. I'm still going to talk about her. Claudia's been in a school setting for almost 24 years. Her first 3 years were in a Memphis school setting. Her husband was Frank was finishing law school down there, and then her first 3 outside of Memphis were at East Lincoln, and Mr. Ballard was the principal. And she went home every day crying, wanting to bring kids home, so she had to do something else in life, and she got into the business world, and luckily she trained herself enough to come back the last 14. You won't find a lady in the world that connects with kids any more than Claudia does. We're going to miss Claudia Van Cleve, and we can still give her a round of applause. Miss Sandra Whiten is her 38th year of teaching. We go to church together at King's Cross, and I asked her a few years back, 5 years ago, if we could sit by each other. She says, because of the singing ability that we both have. And she said, oh no, you need to sit on the other side, and that way acoustically it's a lot better. I don't know what to say. I've asked Sandra to put her wings up because she has simply been an angel on earth. She started her teaching career in Georgia, and she was a resource teacher. And when she first started, where's Dr. Hatfield? Her red folders looked like a comic book. Now they're these thick things. When she started out, they looked like a comic book. And ended up teaching in Franklin County. And for the last 22 years, she's been a CDC teacher in our building. She is an angel on earth. She always puts kids first, no matter what, and you're always going to be an advocate for our kids, especially our kids that need a little more loving. And Sandra, you have a 9, 6, and 4-year-old grandchildren. And if I were a betting man, you'll be on the beach not far into June. We love you, Miss Sandra. I'm a big man. Miss Dana?
I'm gonna get Miss April for this.
Dana and I go way back. Now, you were a belly bee, right?
I'm still a miller.
Always a belly. Haters up, right? Dana and my little brother used to bang. The only girlfriend he had, I got mad they broke up, so I like Dana. I think y'all probably broke up because, your family's full of athletes. You had a brother that held a batting average at Vanderbilt for years. That just got broken.
It's about me.
Those OVC players here twice, but you could outrun, watching you run those, you were a great athlete. Dana came to us in 1989, and she actually was hired at Tullahoma High School in 1989, and you served there until 1993 as a resource teacher for math and social studies, correct?
So far.
All right. Since then, you've been a bee back home at the Beehive, and
Still the same.
you've done about everything there. You've done everything but kindergarten and first, haven't you? You've been an interventionist. You've been a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
Yes, sir.
You've done it all, haven't
Okay, just about.
you? You made Bel Air
Janitor.
part-time custodian, probably principal there too, hadn't you? Okay. We've been very blessed, and that's going to be a big void in that school because Miss Morris is. They're going to miss your smile because you are a Bel Air, and you've done a great job there, and we appreciate everything you've done for Bel Air Days.
Mr. Herrera.
All right, we are celebrating Ms. Karen Lawson tonight at West Middle School. She's going to be leading us and go on to bigger things. So my experience with Ms. Lawson has only been for 4 years, but I will say in the 4 years that I've been at West that she's been a mentor not only to students, but to a lot of teachers. I watch as new teachers come in, and every time a new teacher comes in, she gently leads them down the correct path on all the things. And she also does a great job in teaching them how to handle the management. There's a lot of new teachers that come in, we don't really have those skills, and she's gently leading people down the right path. I do want to say that with her students, there's a lot of students that come in and they come in as little babies in 6th grade, and what she does is she teaches them to kind of stand up and have their own voice, and that's fun to watch because her personality in the 6th grade, those kids sometimes don't know how to take their classes. It's a unique experience to sit there and watch their eyes get humongous when you go into class the first time, but she raises those kids up. By the time they leave 6th grade and go on to 7th grade, there's something about Ms. Lawson and how she makes kids have confidence in themselves. Even no matter what their gifts are in life, she always showcases those. Another thing that she has done well for me, coming into West Middle School, there's a lot of skills that I didn't feel like I had as an assistant principal, and through the years, she has gently coached me once again to show me that there's things that I'm good at and there's things to grow in, but she's just a mentor both to students and to teachers and to assistant principals and to principals, so I've had a
And the
really good-
superintendent.
So I've had a great experience working with this also, and I'm really grateful. So congratulations
Thank you
to
so
you.
much.
Principal Rose, Tullahoma High School.
We are losing 4 people this year who are going on to, I can only imagine what fun they're going to have. But anyway, Steve Britton is not with us this evening. He is retiring though. He is going to do some coaching with his son and Giles County, so you may be seeing him on the sidelines some next year. Keith Gillum is also retiring at the end of this year, and he has been an institution for us and has helped put a lot of young men and women into good jobs in this community as a machining teacher. Pat Beckham is our school nurse, and I can't honestly tell you how long she's been our school nurse, because when I first went to the front office, my reaction was, we have a school nurse? Because I just didn't make it up there that often. And then when I realized who it was, I thought, oh, that's Jennifer's mother. And I know it's all about you, but I had to get out of Jennifer's mother.
Ms. Rosemaker, come on up here so she can get a
And
picture.
this is our school nurse. But my best memory, first day that I was on the job, Pat came through the door holding a blood pressure cuff. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, I need to get a baseline on you first. And she has been my unofficial physician for going on 10 years now. And she has been some of the best health care, some of the only health care that some of our students have received, and she knows the history of everyone, and we're going to be lost in the front office without you, because she is one that she doesn't just wait till somebody wants a Band-Aid or has a stomachache or needs their temperature taken. We're shorthanded in the office or we get busy. She's over there, she's answering the phone, she's taking care of people. Truly epitomizes team player and compassionate nurse all at the same time. You are badly missed. I badly hate to see Dean Rodenbeck leave, because that will leave me as the oldest person in the building. Dean was one of 2 teachers currently at the high school who were there when I came in 1992. 37 years at Tullahoma High School and 7 years in Kentucky before him. He's been there so long. He's remodeled my bathroom, the same bathroom twice. So that's, he has been there for a stretch. But there are, we all can only hope as educators that we touch a life, that we make a change in life, in his classroom performance, in his coaching, in his giving a kid who really needs a little extra money, a job after school or weekend. Well, he can haul some lumber for me, or he can help me do a cleanup. Dean Rodenbeck has been that person for so many kids for nearly 4 decades. And you, yeah, it sounds longer when you say it that way, doesn't it? But I can only begin to imagine the exponential number of lives you've touched and the people you've influenced. And I know what you've done for us at Tullahoma High School. I know what you've done for me personally, and you are going to be so, so missed.
Miss Barlow, if you want to come on up. One of the folks Mr. Rodenbeck touched was me. Started teaching in Tullahoma. First of all, Mike's here, husband Mike, Olivia and Allison, wonderful family. Started teaching in Tullahoma in 1978 and is about to complete her 41st year. So that's awesome. So I asked her about some of her memories over those 41 years, and a bunch of them she kept saying, no, we can't say that. We can't say that. She's taught kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and intervention. She told me that she remembered when Olivia, one of her fondest memories was her kids coming through the school. And she said when Olivia was there, she remembered that she would go through the book fair and tell whoever was working in the book fair, just keep these for me, my mom's coming to get them. and then when Allison came through, she said that Allison would get all worked up and mad at her when she would tell the other kids in the lunchroom something that had happened at home or, would kind of embarrass her. So that was two of her memories. She said that she enjoys seeing the students that she taught and what they have accomplished in life. She's even taught some of their kids. So, Ms. Barlow, you'll be greatly missed. She was the person that when we hired someone new, if they needed, how can I say that in a graphic kind of way? If they needed a little help, Ms. Barlow was there to help them. And we could send somebody to Ms. Barlow and she would give them good advice, and she's given a bunch of folks good sound advice. You will be greatly missed, and thank you for your leadership for our league.
I'm going to ask Tammy Hatfield to come up. And as she is making her way here, Tammy was one of the first people I met after I came to Tullahoma. And as most of you know, she's our director of special education. And after many years in education myself, I've come to realize those who work in special education are guaranteed their place in heaven. You not know you very long yet. As I listened to folks talk, you worked at the high school at one point, right? And you were an assistant principal there, right? And you worked with Mr. Hargrove, right? Because I heard you guys refer to each other as Batman and Robin. And so you obviously were Batman and he was But no, and one of the things I appreciate being in your office are the varsity letters that you've got hanging in your office. And you receive varsity letters in basketball?
Right.
And other sports as well?
No, just basketball.
Oh, just basketball. And you shared with me too that you can continue to teach and to lead, but you would prefer to spend your time on the beach with you. And she shared about her the motor coach that you guys have, and how you just spend your time down in this paradise, than the paradise here at Tullahoma.
They're similar, but not a lot.
And I know Kim napkins from your staff is back there. Kim, is there anything you want to throw in or add?
Tammy's just been the best mentor I could imagine. She's really shown me a lot about not just managing, but also managing. Enjoying life. Don't forget to enjoy life. She talked a lot about that.
Tammy, thank you very much for your leadership, and I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to work longer.
True. I would have stayed, but I need to go on. He needs me at the beach.
Dr. Lawson, sir.
Yes, I have one retiree, and I'm gonna move on to Miss Cheryl, but I'm gonna give a little bit of story because it loosely keyholes what I want to talk about Miss Cheryl. And that story is actually about Miss Karen Lawson. Now, I've never had the pleasure of working in the same building as her, but this year we had a health issue that caused one of our teachers to miss the last several weeks of school. And Miss Hazelwood's place was taken by Miss Tunstall as a long-term sub. Now, her first day as long-term sub, I said, Miss Tunstall, I'm very sorry, you're going to have to work next door to Matt Lawson. And if you know Matt Lawson and Miss Connie Tunstall, you'll know Matt Lawson is about my height, and you'll know Miss Tunstall about Matt's height. And she said, now don't you worry, I'm not going to have any trouble with Matt Lawson at all. I said, well, I'm sure not. And she said, and if there's any trouble at all, I know his mama. So, and I'll say this. Anytime somebody says, I know their mama, that means that they've done a good job of being a mama. And the reason I give that story is because watching Miss Cheryl, can you come forward, please? Watching Miss Cheryl work with kids is like watching a mother or a grandmother work with kids. Okay? Now, and I say that because she has her own children and her grandchildren here. Watching that interaction is the same thing you'll see when she works with kids. It's a loving relationship, it's a caring relationship, but at the same time, you're not going to do what you want to do. It's not the spoiled grandma time. This is the time to do what you're supposed to do. And Miss Cheryl epitomizes that. Just like she treats her own children and her grandchildren with respect and love and care, she does the same thing. I have a very, very, very good set of aides at East Middle School. And Miss Cheryl is a key component of that. But for all the benefit that she's brought to the kids at East Middle School during the school day, for me, she will always epitomize ESOM. Now, ESOM stands for East Students on the Move. That's a Saturday group. They do service projects and all that kind of stuff. And for years, Miss Cheryl she and Miss Doherty have driven that program. They have taken kids that she has taught kids that don't have the opportunity to do service, to teach them the importance of service. She has taken kids that may not have a decent meal when they're outside of school, and she's made sure that they get snacks and drinks and meals on a Saturday when they're doing service projects. Because she has loved those kids and she has cared for those kids and she's done exactly what they need. And so she will be sorely missed, and congratulations on your retirement.
The maintenance shop, Ted, you want to come up, please?
I don't really know where I want to.
You know
how many of this bunch has sent me jobs?
And what do we all say?
Thank you. Better remember that.
Well, coming here to Tullahoma, the maintenance department they're amazing what you guys are able to do and complete. And you may mention all the projects that you have been sent to you, the things that you have touched and sent back to the classrooms have helped to educate our young people.
There's a lot you're leaving out here.
What's that?
You got people right here. If it wasn't for them backing us, because some of these ideas sound pretty stupid until you implement it.
Sure.
I don't know how that works. But now, the board here, Dr. Lawson, them backing us, you haven't been here long enough to know me, man. You can't do it.
That's right.
You cannot do it. And my wife back there, we pray for this school all the time. We will keep doing This is our family.
There you go. There you go.
I appreciate y'all.
Well, I tell you what, you've been a blessing to this school and you've blessed my life, so thank you very much. There you go.
We need to bring Ms. Rose back, or Mr. Britton, and see if this is not a comparison as Mr. Lawson and Ms. Tunstall.
Okay.
You want me to take the shoes off so you can really see the difference?
Yeah.
Well, this is Steve Britton, who wasn't here earlier when we did it.
Doctors.
You came to Tullahoma in
11, 12 years ago.
11 or 12, yeah, kind of lose track after a while. But I know when I found out that Steve Britton was coming to Tullahoma High School, I was absolutely thrilled because our daughters had played volleyball together on a traveling team in Murfreesboro. So I had met Steve and his wife previously. And Franklin County's loss was our gain. Kids will literally run through a brick wall for Steve Britton, and with good reason. He does have a state championship ring that I covet, that I wish he would leave to me when he got us, but I don't think he's going to do that. But he has worked with our football program, he has worked with our wrestling program, and truth be known, you probably ought to have 2 rings because we know that you had an awful lot to do with Jane Allen scoring what she scored. She credits you with a whole lot of help on that state championship that she won this year. But you're going to do a little more coaching.
Oh, yeah. So switch avenues.
Yeah. But we're going to miss you. We appreciate everything you've done for our kids. Our school is a better place for your having been there, and I'm glad you landed at Tullahoma.
Thank you very much.
I think we need to do one other thing. I think we need to all stand and receive it. All right. There's a portion real early in the agenda that the retired teachers are on the agenda, but it's not what you're going to have to sit through a great maintenance meeting, and all we're going to do is we're going to make sure that Ms. Vaughn's got sprinkled the minutes with that we had a great reception. So you have a chance to leave, and we're going to have a pause anyway because I need to get my computer turned on.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Start back. If you please rise and recite the pledge with me. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, everyone is here, but thank you. Now where am I? Back to roll call. Everyone is here, but I think. Ms. Jessica.
I'm gonna hang in.
Okay. Next, is there a motion on the agenda, please?
Somebody,
Do we have a second? Motion?
Second.
Ms. Johnson with the motion, and Ms. Jessica with the second. For the motion to accept the agenda as presented, please respond by saying, or raise your right hand, please, or left hand, either one. Thank you. Is there an individual here to address the board on the agenda as presented or any other item? If not, we'll go to number 2. Ms. Vaughn, if you'll make sure that the minutes reflect we had a great reception, a great introduction by every principal of his retirees, and the board wishes to make a another thanks in the minutes to all those teachers and all their service. All right, Mr. Carver, Ms. Matlock.
Jennifer, you want to stand up? I'd like to introduce to the board and to those in the audience, Ms. Jennifer Matlock, who will be moving into our HR role. Round of applause. And Jennifer, I forgot to ask, what day is going to be your first official day on the job?
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. So after holidays, we'll have a new face in the front office here. Jennifer's got almost 20 years experience in HR. She's been working at Staff Mark here in Tullahoma. She brings a huge knowledge base on ins and outs with HR, so we're excited to have you here. I know she's been getting support in the front office, and Phyllis Dillingham has been, she's standing in the wings to help get you trained up. We are excited to get you here. We are excited for you to roll up your sleeves and go. And once again, on behalf of the board and the Tullahoma City Schools, welcome.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say, or?
I'm excited. I'm excited and ready to start. So looking
Okay.
forward to it.
Very good. Well, thank you for joining the team.
Thank you for having me.
We're excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, consent agenda. Is there any item on the consent agenda that a member would like to have pulled for further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Ms. Robinson with the motion, and I think Ms. Lawson had a second.
That's 2 times. That's okay, Pat.
That's at least more. 50% is not bad if you
There you
grab it.
go. There you go.
I'm not quick enough.
Before there is any other discussion, if you're for the motion, please respond by raising your hand. Thank you. Unfinished business. The Building and Grounds met 2 Fridays ago, I believe. Dr. Lynn, Ms. Lawson, myself, with Mr. Carver and several people from THS administration, and we spent 3 hours going over the building there. And as well as it's been taken care of, the area, which is a big portion of it, that was first started to be used in the 57-58 school year, it looked like it had been started in the 57-58 school year. And it's time to probably make some adjustments there. And at some point, we're going to have Mr. Carver, I think, probably get an architectural firm to come in at no cost to give us a little bit of idea of what we might be able to do, a little bit of general budget idea, and also take a look at Bel Air.
And when was that? Because I thought that's kind of in the works, right?
Right. I've reached out to an architectural firm I have a relationship with, DLR. They're just finishing up a project at Vanderbilt, so they do have some staff down here, and we're looking at a date really and truly, it'll probably be in July after the 4th. The intent would be to kind of walk through and do a first blush of all of our buildings.
Okay.
To do a deeper dive, which I would recommend to the board, we'll probably need to look at an RFP and have them do a complete top to bottom HVAC, electrical, as well as some schematic designs, concept designs on how we'd want to go forward. At the same time, I've reached out to Jennifer Moody, the city manager of the city of Tullahoma, and the thinking is if these guys are in town, maybe have them look at some of the city buildings. And then with the idea being is what the city does, what we do, it's all coordinated, maybe a common architectural team going forward. So, yeah, we're looking to have the DLR come down in July, just to take a look at it. Those who made the trip to up north and to Harrisburg High School was designed by DLR, and then the schools that we saw, several of the schools we saw in Iowa had been designed by DLR, so that's in the works.
What's the project they're doing at Vanderbilt, do you know?
I could not tell you.
Okay. Okay.
The second part that I can report to you is that they're OLG starting to get the bids in, and hopefully by our meeting, the next committee meeting, we'll have some prices and some ideas there. Would both of y'all be eligible, Dr. Lynn, you and Ms. Lawson, for not 2 weeks from this coming Friday, this week? Okay. If you'll contact both of them and make sure after they've changed to check their calendars, and me also, I'd like to get that. Any other question or comment? All right, Mr. Carver, the 1920 budget.
Right. At the last work session, we had some discussion on the 1920 budget. There is a working draft at your tables tonight. We are not solid on all of our revenues coming in. We are projecting, the steps on the salary schedule and a 2% raise. What we know today in the upper right-hand corner, if we were to go forward with that budget, then we would still be looking at a $749,000 dip into the fund balance, which it may be such when those other revenues come in and we have a little firmer number in June that the 2% raise might be something less than that. As I've mentioned before, I'm a banker's son, and I'm always big about balancing the budget with our anticipated revenues. And I do feel that across the board raise is important, but I also believe I don't want to hemorrhage out of the fund balance. So this is just but a working draft. I would have to, Mike Rogley has done a great job of putting the numbers together and also closing the gap from when you went into your fund balance a year ago till now. I think I've mentioned to most of you that we do have some technology needs and some curriculum needs that we are going to use this year's budget to cover those, so that when we do start our new budget July 1st, it'll be a clean budget. BEP funding, Mike, any comments on that?
Just that we're waiting on the May estimate. I was told today it would be Friday before it would be here. So the numbers that you see in the BEP today are not solid numbers yet. So don't want to put in something in there that I'm not comfortable with yet.
And then historically last year, the BEP per student funding was roughly what, Mike? How much was the per pupil funding out of the BEP from a year ago? Just a ballpark.
I usually say about $5,000.
Yeah, no, that's a good working number. That's a good working number. Okay.
Any other questions?
So if we have questions, we can just email. We are going to discuss this at the next study session though, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and we're going to have a finance meeting before that.
Okay.
And then you all will have to, so you meet all your timelines, you'd have to vote on the budget and approve it at the June school board meeting.
Okay.
I feel really good where we're at, as far as the numbers go. It's just that we've got to zero in on what our revenues will be.
When is our finance committee meeting?
Yeah, when's that?
I hope a weekday, if it works with you,
Yes.
in within about 2 weeks. Hopefully we can have one before the next study
Okay.
session.
Okay.
And if you'll contact both of us about that.
I'm probably going to email my questions to the three of you,
That's
just so
fine.
that it's
Sure.
more congruent.
That's fine.
Okay.
The audit is tied into the same report. We've got a real clean audit, again, as we have had. 2 or 3 years ago, there was a recommendation, not a finding, but a recommendation that the finance committee meet, go over the audit, and then be a part of the explanation and review of it at the study session, and then approve it. So I don't want to get away from following that recommendation. We'll go back over it. We'll have 2 items to consider, the 1920 budget and the audit report. Anybody else got a question there? If not, 1920 school calendar, Mr. Carver.
As you look at the proposed calendar in front of you, I know that there's been a lot of work put in on that. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the recommendation or not. It's
We just
basically
changing the one day, but I didn't see it changed on this one. Right?
It is or is not changed.
It's
No.
not.
No. The 13th was
But
not.
we'll be
this.
voting on the change.
We had changed it to the 19th of March from the 13th of
Yes.
April, is that it?
Yes.
I believe that's the only.
That's correct.
Have you got that changed, able to go, if we get a
If we
motion?
approve it.
Yeah. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the 1920 calendar with the so mentioned change.
So moved.
Ms. Usleton is the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Jessica. Any further questions? If not, those motion, please respond by raising the hand. Thank you. And then number 5, attendance of non-resident students. Mr. Carver.
We've had a change in that employees who are non-residents would be able to, their tuition would be waived if they're a student in good standing, and we had the program to support those children. In the initial, when the board established it, the attendance of non-resident students, we're talking about the tuition, the verbiage was such that the half-rate tuition for teachers was also extended to Tullahoma employees, and also then folks who lived outside of Tullahoma but became registered voters inside Tullahoma. And so the verbiage said that reduced rate was tied to what the teachers got. And it's a recommendation that would not continue with what the teachers got, that the rest of, everyone else, the same category would be in place, and that it would be half tuition for those who got voting rights inside the Tullahoma City Schools, established that part, and that also were employees, okay? And I think
Under the audit.
Under the audit, right. Mr.
Mr. Miller had a really nice resolution.
Yes.
Did everybody,
Yes.
does anybody have a question for Mr. Miller?
Do you have any other comments on reference to that, Mr. Miller?
No, I think, the only thing outside of the resolution, obviously you need to set your tuition rate annually and reflect that in minutes. So,
And we did see it.
Have we done that?
Yes.
Is it the rationale there?
I believe that's on.
It is.
All right.
It is.
It's
Yeah.
the same, right? It's the same.
Yes.
Well, do we need two separate motions, and I would assume?
Yes, sir.
All right, first I'm going to entertain a motion then to accept the tuition rates as marked there, 900, 600, and 300 as they have been.
So moved.
Jessica with the motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Lawson. Any further discussion? If not, please, if you're for the motion, please respond by raising your hand. All right, in the second, then I'm looking for a motion, or entertain a motion for the approval of the resolution that you were presented by Mr. Miller today,
So moved.
or last Friday. Ms. Johnson has the motion. Second.
Second.
And Ms. Second, Ms. Usleton. Any further discussion? If not, if you're for that motion, please respond by raising your hand. Thank you. New business, I believe Mr. Carver, the zoning transfer availability.
Okay. The board was provided information on seats that would be available at the various campuses. That's this document right here. And so at Bel Air, there's 5 seats available in each grade level. At East Lincoln, there are no seats available. Farah has 5 seats available in each grade level. Robert E. Lee, grade 1, no seats available, and 5 seats available in the other grades. East Middle School, no seats available in 6th grade. 7th grade, there are 8 to 10 seats available in the 8th grade. West Middle School, 6th grade, 12 seats. 7th grade, 10 seats. 8th grade, 10 seats. And at Tullahoma High School, all seats are available. Now, I think this is important to note that we have folks that are wanting to, that live outside the Tullahoma City School District boundaries that are wanting to come in, right? And so as we allow those students in, you know, the first precursor to any folks who are non-resident, be it an employee or someone who wants to pay tuition, is do we have seats available at that school? That's the first blush. And so like at East Middle School, sixth grade and seventh grade, if we had someone wanting, an employee that wanted to bring their child, or someone outside of the city limits that wanted to bring their child, and they wanted to go to East Middle School and they were either sixth or seventh grade, we don't have physical space for outsiders. Okay? Now, that's not to say if a family moved into the district and lived in that East Middle zone, we would make room for them because they're taxpayers and it's appropriate to do that. But for outsiders coming in, we don't want to get in a situation where we get that one over and we have to hire another teacher. Okay? So I think this is important to note. The other thing besides and just for the benefit of the board, there's been several emails that went out for clarification. Folks outside, be it an employee or non-resident employees, non-residents, the criteria has been a student in good standing in their home school, that we have the resources and programming to support that child coming in. I use the analogy today in our Renaissance meeting that if a child came in and was a violin player and wanted to come in and be part of our school and orchestra, but we didn't have a violin instructor, we weren't going to go out and hire a violin instructor to provide for that child. We would only provide services up to what we've got. The other thing that I'm very sensitive to is that the taxpayers at Tullahoma come first, and that we want to meet their needs first. I think Mike made the comment that when we have students outside coming in, they're paying, for example, at the high school, they're paying a tuition of $900, and we're getting BEP money of $5,000. But when you look at the middle school and the elementary schools, that BEP money and that tuition is not equal to what the total cost is to educate a student. And so we don't want to have empty seats because we want to be able to, if they're empty seats, it's better to get some revenue than no revenue. But one of the things to look at, the board needs to maybe consider going forward a year from now, is really looking at what the out-of-district non-resident tuition is. And that probably should get closer to a break-even point between what the BEP money is and what our cost to educate per pupil. One of the things I've learned here is that Tullahoma Schools has an outstanding reputation, and we provide lots of services to the young people, and there are a lot of young people in the surrounding area, moms and dads, want their children to be here, and I think that's the greatest compliment that we could be bestowed. But we owe it to the taxpayers to take care of them first, and that the tax dollars are being used to educate Tullahoma students. And if this is such a great place, and folks that are outside the district that want to access services, I know of a couple of realtors that help buy a house here in Tullahoma and stuff. So there you go.
All right, it's the same. Seats available has not changed since the study session. Is that correct?
That, to my knowledge, that is correct.
I'll entertain a motion then to accept this report.
So moved.
Ms. Foley has the motion. We have a second.
Second.
Second, Ms. Robinson. Any further discussion? If not, if you're for the motion, please respond by raising the hand. Thank you. THS band permission to travel.
In the work study session that we had, the Tullahoma High School Band is looking to march in the St. Patrick's Day Parade in Dublin, Ireland. And we've looked at the schedule.
Remind us of the year.
It would be the 2021 school year. And everything kind of lines up on that point as far as the kids going and traveling, not missing any class time, going over the vacation time. One of the things that as part of their application process to march in the parade is that they have to have a letter from the board granting permission to travel out of country. It would be my recommendation to the board that you can authorize me to draft a letter, sign it on behalf of the board, granting permission for the Tullahoma High School to travel and be part of that. But it needs board action.
Your staff is efficient enough that letter has been drafted.
Yes,
And
it
one
is.
person who's supposed to sign it has already signed it, so
Well,
we can
then-
unsign it if we
No,
need to.
you just vote and bless it, let's go.
Well, let's get a motion first.
There you
then
go.
bless it.
So moved.
All right,
That we
Ms.
submit
Johnson
a
has the
letter.
motion.
Second.
Second, Ms. Fogarty. Any further discussion? If not, if you're for the motion, please respond by raising your hand. Thank you very much. Ms. Keene is out of town today, so that brings to you, Mr. Carter.
Dr. Carter isn't here this evening. I know that we've had some movement on staff hires. I don't know if that list, an up-to-date list was provided for you tonight, but we will be getting one out to you all. Ms. Rose, I know that you've made some hires. Some folks have asked as far as like our new vocal music director. Can you share a little bit about that person?
Dr. Gary Wilson. Dr. Wilson comes to us from Lipscomb University. He was the chair of the classical music department and director of vocal studies. Lipscomb has decided to go completely commercial next year, which means he won't have a position there. That's our gain, very serendipitous timing for all. So we look forward to Mr. Wilson bringing some of his expertise to Tullahoma and seeing where he takes us.
In our Renaissance meeting this morning, which is the district leadership, Kathy also shared that there will be an AP music offering. Is that correct?
AP music theory.
Really?
Yep.
So good.
He's very excited about that.
That's great.
That kind of his bailiwick.
That's great.
So I think that was very serendipitous, and it was great. I can't talk.
I visited third and fourth period band classes today, talked to some of our vocal students as well, trying to recruit for that class.
Outstanding, outstanding. The only other thing I would make mention of as far as superintendent's report is that I look forward to meeting with the evaluation team and establishing goals, measurable goals going forward. And I mentioned during the beginning of the meeting, but I want to reiterate, I've been a part of a lot of high school graduations. The last Friday was truly amazing. And one of the things that really...
You were one of the reasons why it was.
Well,
Continue on.
no. I guess the part that humbled me to be there was looking over the corner at the big screen, and after the kids got their diplomas, the hugs that Miss Kim gave and the handshakes Mr. Pat gave, looking at the kids eyeball to eyeball, that was a great send-off. That really, it shared with them the pride that the community had.
A little pilgrim.
Well, at the pilgrim and just graduation period, I cry the entire time. And just thinking about it, it's just, oh.
Well, it just, to hand the young people their diplomas and to look at them in the face and to, when you look at someone eyeball to eyeball and the emotions, the excitement, and as I shared with the board, some of them were looking like, holy cow, now what am I supposed to do? But it was a great evening, and I look forward to many more Tullahoma High School graduations.
Correct.
So,
Are there any comments or questions? Not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have one more thing, if I could, please. I just want to thank everybody. My time on this board is growing very short, and Miss Sandy will be giving you all a letter that explains everything. And I thank you. I love each other.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate your service.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? How about a motion to adjourn then?
Come in.
Ms. Robinson has a motion. Do we have a
Second.
Second from Ms. Johnson. Any further discussion? Not, raise your hand, and we are adjourned. Thank you.